along with Bhumi, they're journeying up and up. The Brahmaloka is the topmost planet in the material world. But higher than Brahmaloka is Svetadvip. This is the planet of Lord Vishnu in the material world, the planet of Svetadvip. And so as Brahma is going on his journey with Bhumi, so many other demigods are joining them. There's Shiva on his bull, and Indra on his elephant, and Surya and Chandra, the gods of the sun and the moon, and Agni, the god of fire, and Vayu, the god of wind. All of the various gods are joining them as they're journeying higher and higher. And finally they come to Svetadvip. Here's a very wonderful picture. The demigods have approached Svetadvip, and Svetadvip, the abode of Vishnu, is surrounded by a great milk ocean. No one can get to the abode of Vishnu. They're waiting. They're offering prayers, but on the shores of the milk ocean. And they're wondering, when will Vishnu appear to help us? And they're offering prayers and prayers, but Vishnu's not showing up. Sometimes this happens. We have some problem, we're offering prayers, but we're not getting a solution right away, are we? Sometimes we have to be patient. Sometimes we have to wait. And so in the meantime, even though all of the demigods are offering prayers, Vishnu, he is sending a message into the heart of Lord Brahma. And Brahma then finally reveals the message that Vishnu has sent to him. Brahma is telling the gods, the demigods, that Vishnu, he knows about the problems. He is aware of the situation. He's going to come to the earth planet to rectify the situation. And he wants all of you to help. This is very wonderful that Vishnu is inviting everyone to participate in this a great event of him appearing in the earthly planet. And he said he's going to appear in the Yadu dynasty. And before his appearance, he wants all of the demigods to also take birth in the Yadu dynasty. And they can somehow or other assist him in his mission. The same thing is happening now. There's so much calamity in the world. So many unnecessary defense forces of different kings who are brandishing their weapons. And the Lord has appeared in the form of the holy name. And the Lord also invites everyone to participate in his movement, the Sankirtan movement. So it's a great, great blessing for us to be present at not only at Janmashtami time, but to actively take part. It's none different than the Lord actually 5,000 years ago when he came to the earth planet and people took part. The demigods were invited to take part. So, the devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, I don't think there are any ordinary devotees in the Hare Krishna movement. There are many, many exalted personalities we don't even understand. So, anyways, Brahma, he tells all of the demigods, go to the earth planet, take birth in the Yadu dynasty, and the Lord will appear in due course of time. And so in this way, after a time, there was a great wedding celebration in the Yadu dynasty. There was Devaki was getting married to Vasudeva, and there was the dowry by Devaka, her father, was extraordinary. 400 elephants, fully decorated, 1,800 chariots that were also fully decorated, and also 15,000 horses and they were also fully decorated. So it's an extraordinary dowry. Nothing much, this is a sizable dowry. And so, when the wedding was over, then the custom is that the brother of the bride would take the bride and her new husband to their home. But Devaki didn't have a brother. But she had a cousin brother, Kamsa. And Kamsa invited them to get onto the chariot, and they began their journey, and they were followed by many musicians, many bands playing their musical instruments, and many dancing girls. They were dancing along the road on the royal procession. So much opulence was being displayed. But then something strange happened. The sky began to rumble, and there was a voice calling to Kamsa, "Kamsa! Kamsa, you fool! You are driving the chariot of your sister and brother-in-law, but you do not know that the 8th son of your sister will kill you." Kamsa was trembling when he heard this news. He took out his sword. He turned around and he grabbed Devaki by the hair. He was about to kill his own sister. When Vasudeva, her husband, fell to his knees, he made an appeal to Kamsa. He said, "Kamsa, you are the great king of the Bhoja dynasty. You are a great hero, a great warrior. How is it that you are prepared to kill your own sister at the time of her marriage? What's the matter? Why should you be so much afraid of death? There's some voice in the sky. We're dying at every moment. You're not just dying now, but from the day you took birth, you began to die. Every moment, every day, every year. And suppose we're 25 years old. That means we've already died 25 years. And so, Kamsa, you're a great king and a great warrior, a great hero. Why should you be afraid of death?" But Kamsa, he didn't let go of his sword. His words were not making a very good impression on Kamsa. So Vasudeva made a last appeal. He said to the king, he said, Devaki is not your problem. She's not going to kill you. It's the 8th son of Devaki that will kill you. And I promise you today that whatever children we have, I'll bring them to you as soon as they're born, and you can do whatever you want with them. He was making this appeal. He was giving his word. In those days, when you gave your word, it's like a contract. As soon as you spoke your promise, then it's as good as a contract signed by lawyers. And so Kamsa, yes, he agreed that, look, Vasudeva is giving his word that each of the children he'll deliver to him. And so, after a year, of course, Kamsa was in his palace, and who shows up? Vasudeva. He's come very reluctantly. He's bringing the first child from their marriage. And Kamsa, he's laughing out loud. He picks up a glass of wine. He's toasting the newborn child. He knows, I have nothing to fear from this child. It's okay, you can take the child home. And so Vasudeva is very surprised at Kamsa's reaction. Kamsa's being very magnanimous. And so he goes back home. And after some time, who shows up at Kamsa's palace? We know who shows up. Because Narada Muni, he is an instigator. He doesn't like to leave things alone. Sometimes, here Kamsa, he's okay with the situation now. He's not creating a disturbance. But Narada Muni comes to inflame Kamsa's passions. And Narada Muni, is called the Eternal Spaceman. He's playing on his Veena. He's traveling here and there all over the universe. And now he's flying above the palace of Kamsa, and he comes down, down, down into the courtyard. And as soon as Kamsa sees him, he falls to his feet. Kamsa, even though he's a demon, he knows how to greet the sages. He knows how to honor the sages. And so he gets Narada Muni a sitting place, and Narada Muni tells him, I've come here to tell you something very secret, something very confidential that happened. I happened to be at Mount Sumeru when Lord Brahma was talking with the different personalities and different demigods. I happened to be there, and I'd like to share with you their conversation, because they were concerned about all of the demons. They wanted to get rid of all of the demons, headed by you, Kamsa. They thought you were the biggest demon. And so they even petitioned Lord Vishnu in Svetadvip. They went there and petitioned the Lord, and they were expecting the Lord to appear in this world sometime very soon. And so Kamsa's thinking, what's going on here? And finally, when Narada Muni mentions the name Vishnu, Kamsa's heart is beginning to race very rapidly. It's pounding away. His hands are trembling. And he's wondering, why is my body giving off such a reaction just when hearing the name Vishnu? And Narada Muni, he knows past, he knows present, he knows the future. He tells Kamsa that, in a previous birth, you were also a great demon by the name of Kalanini. And at that time, who showed up to kill you? Yes, Vishnu. He killed you in that birth. And now he might kill you again. So you have to be very careful, because Vishnu is a very tricky person. He tricked Hiranyakashipu. He tricked Ravana. He tricked Bali Maharaj. He's tricking so many people, so many great demons. So if you're informed that it's the 8th son of Devaki, who knows what that actually means? We can't trust Vishnu. We can't trust these voices in the sky. Better that you take action now. Don't be tricked like the previous demons. They were all killed. You can save yourself. Take action right now. And so, after Narada Muni leaves, Kamsa is in a state of fury. He even throws his own father, Ugrasena, into prison. Because, he's about to do some horrible things. And even the other family members, they're going to object. So he throws his father into prison. He throws so many other people into prison. Some people are running away, fleeing in fear. Many of them, the citizens of the Yadu dynasty, they're afraid of Kamsa. They're not going to stay. Some of them leave. Some of them do stay. Akrura, he's a member of the Yadu dynasty. He stays there. He's a close confidant of Kamsa. He's positioning himself for future event. But anyways, here, now Kamsa even throws Vasudeva and Devaki into the dungeon beneath his palace. And every year he's coming down and he's killing off all of the children. Finally, after so many years, it's the 8th child. Devaki is pregnant with the 8th child. And Kamsa is thinking, no, I can't wait. Let me go down. And he goes down with his knife. He's thinking, he's looking into the dungeon. He's sure enough, Devaki is glowing. When a lady is pregnant, they are glowing. And he's thinking, yes, now Vishnu is in her womb. Why don't I just kill her now and get it over with? But, he has some sensibilities. Kamsa is thinking, well, this is a woman. She's pregnant. She's my sister. She's living under my roof. How can I'm supposed to protect her. She's under my roof. Kamsa has some sensibilities. And so he puts away his knife and he's thinking, I'll have to wait. As soon as the child is born, then I'll kill the child. I'll wait. But in the meantime, he's telling his soldiers that I want you to surround the dungeon. I want you to surround the palace. I want you to place guards on all of the streets of Mathura. Everywhere should be observed. Everywhere should be covered. I don't want any slip-ups. As soon as the child is born, then tell me immediately. And so the soldiers, the guards of Kamsa, they're on high alert, so to speak. It's a really, really crucial time for them. Day after day, they're waiting, they're observing, they're guarding. They don't know that the demigods, they've come to take darshan of Krishna within the womb of Devaki. Let me see if I can find. And they're offering prayers. They're coming. No one can observe them. And what are the prayers of the demigods? They say, "Oh my dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand your eternal form of personality. People in general are unable to understand your actual form. Therefore, you are personally descending to exhibit your original eternal form. Somehow people can understand the different incarnations of your Lordship, but they are puzzled." This is an interesting point that the demigods are making. Somehow the Lord is coming time after time in so many different forms. He comes as Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Varaha and Matsya, different personalities. No one has any problem with that. But now that Lord Krishna is coming in his personal, original form, then everyone's bewildered. How can God have this? So let me just finish what the demigods are saying over here. Somehow people can understand your different incarnations of your Lordship, but they are puzzled to understand the eternal form of Krishna with two hands, moving amongst human beings exactly like one of their own. This eternal form of your Lordship is ever increasing in transcendental pleasure. But for the non-devotees, this form is very, very dangerous. So the devotees, they're deriving great pleasure from this sweet form of Krishna. But for the demons, this form, even though it just looked like a regular human being, Krishna is appearing, he's very dangerous for the demons. And so, anyways, they're offering prayers, and finally, it's the night that Mother Devaki, she gives birth to Krishna. This is a very beautiful description of that moment. Krishna takes birth in the dense darkness of night. And this is a very beautiful description that Prabhupada offers at the beginning of the 3rd chapter, Birth of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada writes, "At this time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. There was auspicious stars visible in the sky, and on the surface, in all the towns and the villages and the pasturing grounds, and even within the minds of everyone, there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of waters. The lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were filled with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the brahmanas, who were accustomed to offer sacrifice in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Due to the disturbances created by the demoniac kings, the sacrificial altar had been almost stopped in the houses of the Brahmins. But now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the Brahmins were distressed in mind, intelligence, and activity. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy, and they could hear loud vibrations in the sky of transcendental sounds proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is such a wonderful description that Prabhupada. And by the way, a book came out in 1970, but if you want, there's also the books available behind me, the Krishna book. So anyways, here, now at this moment, Krishna takes his birth. But he's not taking birth as an ordinary little child. He appears as a little child, but he has a full set of black hair. The black curls are going down to his shoulders. Not only that, Krishna is born with a helmet, and he has so many bangles, so many jewels, and gems and diamonds, and even the Kaustuba jewel is on his chest. And he's decked out in very beautiful silk cloth. And Vasudeva and Devaki are overwhelmed by this appearance of the Lord. And they're bowing down and they're praying to him again and again. Vasudeva is praying. And Devaki, she also expresses that she is very fearful for her own safety, because Kamsa is a very ruthless personality. But even though she's fearful for her own safety, she tells the child Krishna that I'm even more afraid of what will happen to you. Kamsa has killed all of our other children. He's ruthless. Please, my dear Lord, turn yourself into an ordinary child. Maybe Kamsa will spare you if you look like an ordinary child. But Krishna has a plan. And he tells them that, he tells Vasudeva, I want you to take me outside the dungeon and cross the river Jamuna and take me to the home of Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj and leave me there. And you can take the child that's born from them, you can bring that child back here. And so, at this time, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but the night that Krishna was born, an extraordinary thing happened. Usually on the streets, there's so many people, there's so many guards placed around the Mathura in all directions. But that night, there was a deep slumber that fell across the earth, and everybody sank into a deep, deep sleep. And the gates of the dungeon mysteriously swung open. And so Krishna is telling his father, take me outside, take me across the Jamuna River to the home of the Nanda Maharaj and his wife Jasoda. And so now he steps over the guards who are sleeping. He climbs up the stairs from the dungeon. He crosses the courtyard of the palace, and he goes out into the streets of Mathura, and going down to the river, he begins to cross. But it's raining, and Anantasesha comes like a big umbrella, and he covers the father and the little baby with his hoods as they cross the Jamuna River. And so it's an extraordinary sight to behold. And then he goes deeper into the forest, and there in the village, Mother Jasoda also had just been given birth to a child. And that slumber also fell upon them. So when she gave birth to a child, everyone immediately fell asleep. She didn't know if the child was a boy or a girl. She didn't have a clue. And so when Vasudeva came by, then he placed Krishna next to her lap, and he took the child, which happened to be a baby girl. And he brought that child back across the Jamuna River, back down the streets of Mathura, across the courtyard of the palace, and down the stairs to the dungeon. And then he locked up the dungeon. He gave the girl to his wife, Devaki, and he was so tired he fell fast asleep. And when he gave the girl to his wife, the girl started to cry and cry and cry, and all of a sudden, the guards all woke up. They heard the child crying. They ran up the stairs from the dungeon, down the hallway of the palace. Kamsa, Kamsa, the 8th child is born, the 8th child is born. Kamsa was in his bedroom. He sat up. He was thinking, now the cruel death of my life is finally here. But Kamsa was a fighter. He wasn't going to take this sitting down. He jumped up. He ran recklessly down the hallway. He ran down the stairs to the dungeon. He threw open the gates. And there, Devaki was holding the little baby. And Kamsa demanded, "Give me the child!" Devaki was very calm. The royal ladies, because they're trained in royalty, and they're trained also in diplomacy. They know how to act in a diplomatic way and speak if there's some situation that's a great problem, you have to speak in such a way to calm down the situation, to placate your enemies, to try to reason with them. So Devaki, she kept her composure, and she's saying, "My dear brother, I have a little baby girl here. And that prophecy many years ago, it didn't say anything about a baby girl. It said that you would be killed by the 8th son, my 8th son. But somehow or other, I now have a baby girl. Please let her live." And Kamsa was so ruthless. He said, "Give me the child." Devaki, she didn't all. And she was again making other reasonable suggestions. She's saying, you have a young son, and now I have a girl. Why don't we make our families bond a little better? We can develop a bond and marry the two kids off together. And they will grow up, and they'll be happy. And this is the natural course of events. But Kamsa was so ruthless, he was getting impatient. He finally ripped the child out of Devaki's hands. He was about to throw the child against the dungeon is built with rocks, heavy rocks. And he was going to smash the head of the child against the rocks. And he was about to do that when all of a sudden the child was gone from his grasp and hovering above the air. It wasn't a child at all. Now it turned into her real identity, Durga. And Durga manifested her 8 arms with 8 weapons. And she was looking down at Kamsa very pitiably. And she's saying, Kamsa, you are such a rascal. You're such a fool. You should know that the child you are waiting for is already someplace else in this world. Don't be so cruel to your poor sister. Now Kamsa doesn't know what to do. He's thinking, what's going on in this world? The demigods they made an announcement that the eighth son of Devaki would be my death. But I can't trust anybody anymore in this world. The demigods made a false announcement. What's going on? There are so many lies that are being spread. Of course, now in this day and age, there's innumerable lies. But actually, there was no lie. There was a trick, but there was no lie. Because Krishna, as the 8th son of Devaki, was born. But the thing is that Vasudeva did not live up to his promise. No. He wanted to spare the child. Sparing Krishna and serving Krishna was more important than any mundane promise that he made. That's the most important thing, how to serve Krishna in his mission. And so anyway, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were assisted by Kamsa. They went back to their homes. And Kamsa couldn't get this out of his mind. What is he going to do? And so next morning, then he gathered all of his ministers and he asked them, what should we do about this situation? And so the ministers were thinking, well, there's the 3 great personalities, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. Brahma, we don't have to worry about him. He's always meditating here and there. He's in meditation. And Shiva, he's kind of crazy. He's always dancing around, spreading the ashes of the dead on his body, dancing here and there. He's a crazy man. We don't have to worry about him. But Vishnu, he's also, even though he seems to be a threat, he's afraid himself. Because he's hiding within the hearts of all the people. He doesn't want to come out. He's hiding. He's so much afraid. We don't have to worry about Vishnu. But if you want to attack Vishnu, what we suggest is you attack the cows and the Brahmins and the sages, because the cows and the Brahmins and the sages are very dear to Vishnu. So if we want to get Vishnu attack these personalities. I think, let me see, I'll read one more little section over here. This is at the end of the 4th chapter in this part. This, in a sense, this concludes the birth of Krishna. And so, this is their conclusion. Actually, the limbs of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu are the Brahmins, the cows, Vedic knowledge, austerity, truthfulness, sense and mind control, faithfulness, charity, tolerance, and performance of sacrifice. These are all of the qualities that Vishnu, these activities are found, Vishnu is found in these various activities. So Lord Vishnu is situated in everyone's heart, and he is the leader of all the demigods, including Shiva and Brahma. We think, this is the advice that his counselors give, the ministers give to Kamsa. We think that to kill Lord Vishnu is to persecute. If we can't kill Vishnu, then persecute the great sages and the Brahmins. And so Prabhupada concludes, thus being advised by the demoniac ministers, Kamsa, who is from the very beginning the greatest rascal, decided to persecute the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, being entrapped by the shackles of all-devouring eternal time. So, when Prabhupada is saying here, if you harm, if you want to attack the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, what happens to you? You are bound up in the shackles of eternal time. When you attack the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins and the cows, there's no hope. Somebody like that is bound up for who knows how long. And so Prabhupada explains, he ordered the demons to harass all kinds of saintly persons, and then he entered his house. The adherents of Kamsa were all influenced by the modes of passion, as well as illusioned by the modes of ignorance, and their only business was to create enmity with saintly persons. Such activities can only reduce the duration of life. The demons accelerated the process and invited their deaths as soon as possible. The results of persecuting a saintly person is not only untimely death, the act is so offensive that the actor also gradually loses his beauty, his fame, his religious principles, and his promotion to the higher planets are also checked. Driven by the various kinds of mental concoctions, the demons diminish all kinds of welfare. All offense at the lotus feet of the devotees and the Brahmins is a greater offense than that committed at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, a godless civilization becomes the source of all calamities. This is a very sober reflection that, when you have a godless civilization, there's so many calamities in society. And so for the devotees to protect themselves from these calamities, the only solution, just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, whenever the demigods are having a problem, who do they turn to? None other than Vishnu himself. And so in this age of Kali Yuga, the only solution is to chant the holy name of Krishna that Prabhupada has kindly brought all over the world to help us help us maneuver through life. And so we have to hear these stories. These stories purify us, wash away all of the anxiety from the heart and from the mind. These are very wonderful stories. And we can always keep in touch with Krishna by chanting his holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so this is a very wonderful time. And so like I mentioned earlier, these type of holidays, we have to be thinking about the pastimes of the Lord. We have to be connected with the Janmashtami Katha, with the chanting of the holy name, with praying to Krishna, serving Krishna. This is a very, very auspicious day. And so from the beginning to the very end of the day, after midnight, always remember Krishna and take shelter of the holy name. And so I must thank you for your kind attention. I hope you have a great holiday. Thank you so very much. But let's one last time to honor Srila Prabhupada. Let us chant this holy name again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you so very, very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Years ago we would have been doing a play about this. But now in my old age, the best I can do is tell a story. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Give me the child. Well, there has to be some dramatic elements in the story, right? You have to have that. Those dramatic elements. Yeah. No. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Then tonight they will change. I'll stop by his house. I'll find him. Yeah. Ah, thank you.
ultimately thing happens.